Memphis is the home of the blues, rock and roll, and Earle Farrell.
From the Collierville Square to the mighty Mississippi, the Earle Farrell for Memphis show is all about good things that happen across the Bluff City and the people who make Memphis cool.
The Earle Farrell for Memphis show is made possible by our title sponsor, Southern Security Federal Credit Union,
Jim Karras Chevrolet with George Gully, For Memphis Magazine, the Live at the Garden concert series, and the Orpheum Theater Group Memphis, and by Mitch Wright Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning, family owned and operated for more than 40 years. And brought to you by High-Low Commercial Services, owned by the cleanest man in the world, and by Walker Auctions, LLC. When it's time to sell, Walker Auctions doesn't fiddle around. Thank you to all the sponsors for making this possible.
And now, coming to you from Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King, inside the world-famous Peabody Hotel with the heart of a cowboy and Memphis in his soul. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Earle Farrell.
And thank you very much, and welcome to Lansky's inside the world-famous Peabody Hotel. And we've got a big show for you this week, today and on Wednesday. We're talking about Elvis and everything about Elvis. We've had a bunch of Elvis fans in town, several Elvis lookalikes, and a couple we ran into at Hernando's the other night are here. They're celebrating an anniversary, 40th anniversary? Yeah, and so we had a great time Friday night, and they're in here today to check out Lansky's. And so, in fact, Lowell Hayes made a TCBY necklace for you, and that is an incredible thing. Vicki Gandee's here, and Vicki's been a friend for many years. She's also with Cry-Like, one of their leading sales people, but she started out her famous life living in Elvis's house over by Audubon Park. And right. When your parents were looking at this house, did they say anything about Elvis?
No, they did not. It was really interesting because I did not want to move. We were living in another area, and they were like, we're moving to a really neat house, and it has a swimming pool, which kind of helped. Yeah. I was in probably 6th grade, and I did not want to leave my neighbors because we had been there my whole life. So I was not happy, and then we went over and saw it.
And who is this Elvis guy?
I know.
Anyway?
Well, I knew who Elvis was, no doubt about
did?
it. I did. Yes, I did. Now, he was just a hometown boy back then to us because I was just a little girl. But yeah, we moved over, and when I walked in there and saw that 55 by 35 pool with this humongous slide, I had never seen a slide on a pool that big. That was it for me. I was ready.
You know, what we had in my backyard was a stock tank. It was an aluminum stock tank that you'd see out on the ranch. Dad hauled it in and put it on our patio. We were the most popular kids in the neighborhood.
Oh, I bet.
Everybody else had those little wading pools, and ours were about 3 feet tall, and we'd all get in there and get it going in a big whirlpool, and we didn't know we were a stock tank.
Well, it was a great pool, and it had a summer house right next to it, and it was interesting. The summer house did not have water, and it just had a sink.
It never had been plumbed.
Never plumbed, had a sink, and didn't have a bathroom, but it had 2 changing rooms, so you had to run back to the house.
So did Elvis just say, y'all go around back?
Just go to the outhouse.
Just stay behind the outhouse.
But no, it never did. It was kind of like whoever was his designer didn't quite finish it properly, but it was nice. It was a great room to have, for parties and fun.
So when you first, was there any furniture left? Did they take everything with them to Graceland?
And there had been, the Hatchett's bought it. We bought it from the Hatchett Rug Cleaners, I think was the family that owned it. And there was one other girl that had it. I think that's right. I'm not positive, but I know there's been several owners because Elvis left it in like the late 50s.
Well, he bought it in 56, I think. Yeah. And then he lived 9 months, about 9 months later, he had done real well, like 7 number 1 hits in a very short period of time. We've got a picture of it. Rob can show you. It was not green when you lived there.
No, it was all white. The house was white, had the black shutters, and did not have the awnings. But the hedges are the same. The garage door, that's a drive-through garage, by the way. Both sides open, and you go downhill, and you go straight down a hill, and that's where the summer house, as we called it, and the pool. And of course, the pool's gone now; it's not there anymore. But everything else looks the same. But yeah, the house and the brick was painted white. The fence was black, and the fence was painted white also when we lived there.
And it was just a neighborhood street right across from Audubon Park.
Yes.
And what is that, Park Avenue?
Yeah, Park Avenue.
Park Avenue. And when he moved in there, did the neighborhood know, because I'm sure you got to know them over the years.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I understand at one time they actually came to him And because of all the traffic, the increase in traffic, and people were concerned about their children playing it because we all played out in the street in those days. And so they went to him, a group of them, said, we'd like to buy you out. Tell us that story.
Well, apparently, and I learned this from you, but apparently they came over and asked him to, they said, we want to buy you out. And his comment is, well, I'll buy y'all out. And so that was it. But the neighbors that lived one door down from us, if you're facing the house on the right, they were living there then. And they said that the kids were playing football in his front yard all the time, and there were all kinds of cars and people there. And they said it just got to the point when the masses started coming, you couldn't even get down the street, and so it made sense, you know. But they said that they put up with him for quite a while, but 9 months, really not that long.
And by today's world standards, it was really nothing.
No, it really wasn't.
They didn't know how bad it could get.
Absolutely.
When you moved in, had there been people? So there been the Hatchers or Hatchets lived there in between you and Elvis. So you didn't like get his room and it smelled like Elvis.
No, but his wallpaper was on the wall, was green, and it had musical notes, and I can't remember what else, but it was green and white, and it had like the staffs and all that. And unfortunately, if I knew what I know now, I would have I'd cut that puppy off and had every bit of it. But unfortunately, my mother covered it over with another wallpaper, a flocked wallpaper. But the den was the room that he added on, and you'd walk through, everything was white, the whole carpeting, and then you'd step down to the den, it had red carpet, red, and it was dark paneling. And my understanding is if you walk toward the back door, which is all glass, there was a room on the side that it was a recording studio. Now, somebody turned it into a half bath, but that's where he would record it in the middle of the night. If he wanted to go record something, he could. So that's where he made up some of his music or sang songs or whatever.
When I went there, this was probably 10, 15 years ago, and Roseanne Cash put on a little concert there, and about 100 people there. But it had all these photographs taken of him in the house, like sitting on the couch and listening to records. And I noticed that none of them was he wearing a shirt.
I noticed that too.
I remember when I sat around listening to 45s, I always had a shirt on. I don't know why, but that's Elvis. You can get away. But it had a turquoise wall phone in the kitchen, and it was still there, and I think that was original. And the bathroom tile was turquoise or
blue or green or something. Yeah, it was
the 50s look.
Yeah.
And but you think you want it to look as much like it did with Elvis, but then at the same time you're going to be living there. You like it to kind of look like it was,
After too much tequila, you miit not want the turquoise in the bathroom.
There's not that much tequila, is there?
Maybe not, but no, it was interesting, and it was the interesting thing to me was when I didn't go to Graceland for a long time, even as I didn't go to Graceland until I was an adult. But I remember walking into Graceland, seeing the familiar look. It was very similar.
The theme was still there.
It was exactly there, and I remember they had a lot of white. And I've told you my story. My mother was his floral designer for about 4 years, and she would come in. She would do seasonal.
And how did that happen?
Well, because she worked for Ramsey's Florists, which was and they were right there at Methodist, and that's where everybody bought everything, and they're right next to Memphis Funeral Home. So they had a huge business, and she was known for her work. She did the Peabody. She did the flowers.
The centerpiece and the fountain?
In fact, when I was 3 years old, those big brass dogs scared the daylights out of me the first time I walked in
here. Right down the hall, still here.
Still here. I still don't like them. Even now.
Well, they've been petted so many times that they're this incredible shine on them.
Yeah.
And,
I didn't pet them. I started to cry and ran.
I rode them a couple of times.
I bet you did. On your way out. Yeah.
Way in. But the thing about it, when you were living there, did your friends and everybody know that Elvis lived there?
Oh, everyone knew. And I was everyone's best friend. And my yearbook got more signatures those 3 years that when I went to Sherwood, and then I went to IC, where Priscilla went, which is interesting. And my mother met Priscilla when she was doing the house.
Because that was a high school.
Yes.
And so here Elvis brings her back from Germany.
Yeah.
And she's in high school, which is sort of like my story and Kathy. When I moved here in 78, she was at Briarcrest.
Oh, wow.
I think we were talking about this. She was 13. I think I was 28.
Oh, wow.
It sounds bad now.
It kind of does.
But when she was 24 or 25, whatever it was, when I met her, I still should have been horsewhipped.
Wow.
But we'd go to the store and people look and go, oh, a father and daughter.
Oh, wow. No, that's crazy. Well, yeah, that was interesting. And they had a limousine pick her up every day. because the nuns told us a bunch of stories.
Yeah.
And they said that,
Those
they picked her
nuns,
up.
they can't keep their mouths shut, can they?
Especially after a couple of glasses of wine. I had 8 nuns take me all over the West, and we went our IC senior trip. The nuns, they took us to Las Vegas, and I thought, okay, and then we went to San Francisco, and also they were telling us a lot of good stories during those times because they'd have their wine. So
Well, all the nuns did with me is take me to the hall and wrap my knuckles with a ruler.
luckily we didn't have that too much.
For talking.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, I was always talking
I was
too.
practicing up for my career, and they just didn't realize that then. But even the entire time you lived there, people would come by there because even though he was in Graceland now, he lived there at one time. That's part of his story.
That's part of the story. When I was, I would go out to get the paper in the mail. That was my job, and they would be out there taking pictures. And I know Sunday mornings were the worst. They would, in fact, it was his birthday one Sunday, and they started coming up the driveway, and I had to go in to get my daddy. And I said, "Daddy, they're coming up to the house."
Did you yell out, "Get off my lawn"?
I said, "He doesn't live here anymore.
See,
Go to Graceland."
I'd have been charging them to come in, $1 a head.
Well, we had to close those gates on his birthday from then on. The however many years we left, we would just find out it was his birthday and shut him up because they'd get all excited. They'd try to climb the fence. And I think I've told you this. They have a staff on the fence. It's a round with the lines in it. And there used to be musical notes on there, and they were welded on, but the
They took
fans
'em
stole
off.
them. Yeah, we never had any.
The original statue that they had commissioned after he passed away in Brandywine Valley, very famous
the
sculptor.
one with the jacket. Yeah.
With the fringe, and they put it on a big pedestal beside MLGW. And people kept stealing the fringe, the guitar, the strings on the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So they took it and repaired it and then put it in the welcoming center down by Bass Pro now. Yeah. And that B.B. King's got a statue there as well. But it's an incredible statue. But most people in Memphis, which is our next guest, is with Backbeat Tours. That's on the tour there, but we'll talk about a lot of the stuff that everybody should take a tour of their own town and go and see what the rest of the world sees when they come here. I did that when I first came here as a reporter.
Well, we were talking earlier, and I knew I recognized her. And see, they took Memphis Area Association of Realtors on the tour. We've done that a couple of times, and I think she was our tour guide. As I remember, because I recognized her, which was fun. So and it's really neat. It's really fun, and there's things you don't remember. And then there's a nighttime tour too, I believe, that we've done.
That's the one I take people on.
Yeah, that's a really cool one too. They do a great job.
We just go bar to bar.
And
here we are.
That's my other kind of tour that I do enjoy.
This used to be Bombay Bicycle Club, but it's Bosco's now. But
oh, I know, it's like crazy, but no, it was fun. My other claim to fame is I drew Mr. Vernon's blood a few times. I worked at Baptist, and he was going down, unfortunately. And I had to do a micro stick on him because we couldn't get a vein anymore. So I was a micro stick person. And I went down and I talked to him. I said, I watched that Elvis movie that came out. I said, Mr. Vernon, did you see it? And he goes, no, ma'am. I don't watch any of those because they don't tell us the truth. It's not a true story.
So they were lying back then.
Yeah, they were lying big time back then even.
Like you didn't get to see the news today.
Yeah.
Lies, all lies.
But he was a very, very gracious, very sweet man. And my mother became friends with him. And then the guy at the gate, you mentioned his name.
Vernon.
Yeah.
I mean, Vester.
Vester, yes. Yeah. And because he would just let her in because she would come in certain times of the year, like 4 or 5 times a year.
I've been there so many times, and I know all the people that run it. And I was always, whenever I drive my own car or one of the news units in, you pull up the gate, you push the button, the gates open up, and you just drive in. And then you think about it, at least I always did. This is the way he drove into his home, and it's still exactly the same drive. I
saw him just a few days. My cousin had an apartment out there. That's why we were in Whitehaven. And we would go. They had moved out of town, so she told, I was, college, barely. And they're like, hey, you want to go, y'all want to go take from your girlfriends and hang out at the apartment? We're like, sure. It's free and, whatever. And we were going out there. And the first time we were heading out there, he was in that black car.
The Bearcat.
Yeah, the Bearcat. Kind of looks like an Eldorado.
Yeah.
And he was stopped with the windows down. He was on the passenger side, and that was right before he died. It was just a week or two. And then the next time we went back out there, we didn't realize he had passed away. And we started out there, and we were in dead stop. We could not move. And he hadn't even been dead that long. It was probably 5 o'clock at night, and I think they announced it at 3 or 4 or something like that.
Well, the crowd just continued to grow.
And it was just, we had to go a completely different way.
And you remember somebody tried to steal his body from one of the funeral homes or the cemetery.
Somebody drove their car into the crowd too. I remember that. There was something like that happened too, which was horrible.
Well,
But,
I knew
yeah.
a bunch of police officers.
No.
Ralph Hatley used to be head of security here
Yeah.
at the Peabody.
Yeah.
And he was out there driving around in Lisa Marie's golf cart, he and another police officer. And then it was in the museum. And Ralph and I were doing a live shot when I was at Channel 5. And I said, let's be sitting in that golf cart when we come back. And Todd Morgan, who was head of PR then, he goes walking to the car museum, and there we are sitting in this. He goes, that's an artifact. We're looking around. What is? He said, the golf cart you're sitting in. Well, you want me to get you some white gloves or something? Then no, get out of the golf cart.
Well, it's fun because it's so many memories. I have more, I can tell you, but it's so funny. My mom, she never saw Elvis. But I have to tell you a funny story. She came home and started describing Graceland, and she said, it has a waterfall. And at that time, I was really young, and I thought, wow. Well, then when I walked through the house.
It's in the jungle room.
The jungle room, there's a little bitty trickle coming down.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Niagara Falls, thinking, wow, Elvis has a waterfall. And, no, it wasn't quite what I expected, but it's still a very cool, the whole thing was so cool. He had the neatest house. I loved it.
I think so many people go there and they go, oh, gosh, look at the colors. Look at all that. And the word tacky comes in some. But the thing about it is, think about what you owned in 1977.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it was shag carpet. Mm-hmm. It was paisley. It was just a horrible time for fashion. And
it was.
But that's frozen in time forever because that's what it was like when he passed.
It definitely was. And I can remember some of the jackets my daddy wore. They very similar to what they have here now. That was a real popular. And the leisure suits, those were getting popular during that time.
I will have to admit, I never owned a leisure suit.
My daddy did. He had quite a few. He liked them.
Well, Dad had long sleeve coveralls and short sleeve coveralls, summer and winter, and that was his wardrobe. But the thing about it is, almost 50 years later, they're still coming to Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all year round. It's not just Elvis Week. And they still come here. And they're still, and last year we went to the candlelight vigil on Friday nights. And Kathy had never been before, and I'd covered it many times. But never from back by the mansion, looking down before they let the people in.
Oh, wow.
And so here are all these people. And they're playing Elvis over the loudspeakers, Welcome to My World.
Oh.
And it was just, I went, whoa.
Yeah.
Because it's Elvis welcoming all these fans that come every year to his world, and it's still his world.
Yeah, it is. It is. And one thing, I will go to his house, my old house, and his house first, and make a video. And the last 3 years I've done it, I get bombarded by people. This one girl came on and shared it all over Facebook for me, and another girl said, "Can I interview you?" And I was like, another girl interviewed with me. And I just stand in front of it and just try to make a video. And every time somebody would walk up, every time I'd be trying to film, it took me like 7 tries. So hopefully I'm going to try.
You yelled out, "Stand by on the set!
Yeah,
We're
absolutely.
filming!" But it is it's a very special thing.
It is.
I mean, you're the
It
only
is.
person I've ever met that lived in one of Elvis's residences.
Right.
And so nobody's ever lived at Graceland again. I mean, I think he had an aunt that was upstairs that lived after he passed. And
his grandmama. His grandmama was there because my mother met her, and she was there. She always was cooking. Mom said she cooked all the time.
When I went to interview his cook, his actual cook, I was one of the first people let in to Graceland before they opened it to tours. And we show up and we interview her, and she talks about all the things he loved to eat and when he ate. And then Todd Morgan, the PR guy, said, "I got to go," and she's going to leave too. We were just going to film rooms and stuff, the pool table and the TV room and all that. And he said, "Just don't go upstairs." And I said, "Not a problem." So ever since I tell that story all these years, everybody goes, "You went upstairs, right?" I said, "No. You tell somebody you're not going to do it."
No.
I mean, that's...
They won't invite you back.
and so we didn't, but it was really weird being in his house with nobody else there, just Steve Hutchinson, my photographer, and I.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there saying, if he walks in, and sorry, Elvis, we thought you were gone. But it was that. I mean, you just sit there and look around, and for the most part, everything was exactly the way it was the day he died.
Yeah. They started playing the radio after he died. They'd sing, the radio would open, "Are You Lonesome Tonight?" And I remember I'd start crying every time I heard it because I was like, "Oh, that's so sad. Yes, we're lonesome. Come back, Elvis. We miss you." Because and then see, my friends saw him in Vegas in '75. We had that tour with all the nuns that went all over, and they stopped in Vegas.
Those
and,
nuns.
Yeah.
You know they'd
They
go to
took us,
Vegas.
of course, and they let us go. We never saw them. That was the interesting thing. But we went to something else because my good friend Shannon, her aunt not owned, but was a big dog with Caesar's Palace. So we were there, and they met Elvis. So he came over because he realized the IC girls were there, and came over and sang to them.
Oh, wow.
And so they were like just floating, and he was still a hometown boy to us. And it was like Elvis sang to us, and I'm like, oh, I'm so jealous. Oh, I never got to see him sing. I hate that.
I never did either. And he came to Odessa all the time. I mean, people sent a number of pictures of him at the Mid-South Coliseum. But everybody that ever saw him never forgot it.
Yeah.
And you could, one of his documentaries is shot at Caesar's Palace, I guess, and he walks out and he's wearing this all-white jumpsuit, and he just kind of turns and looks at the audience, and nobody's saying a word. The band's kind of playing something. He says, "What are y'all looking at?" You.
I forgot my last story, which I did actually see him. I never met him and talked to him, but he drove through he was in that same car, and he was driving through the parking lot of McDonald's on Poplar, right there, like near Yates, that one that's, okay. And that's where everyone, all the IC girls that lived out that way and all the Christian Brothers boys hung out. And and they'd run us out of the parking lot. It was this big side lot. Well, we were standing there and he drove up. But he was a passenger. He drove up and was talking to everybody. And it was so funny. He drove up and he rolls his window. "Hey, guys, how y'all doing?" And we just all stood there. Nobody said a word. Everybody's like, "It's Elvis." Nobody's finally, he said, and finally somebody spoke up and said, "What'd you get to eat?" And he goes, he said, "I got a Big Mac and fries," or something like that. And then we just stood there again. He said, "Well, I'm going to go. See y'all later." We went, "Bye." And we were all going later. Why didn't we say anything? We just stood there like a bunch of goobs and never said, we were just so Elvis. Wow.
You shouldn't feel bad. The Beatles were the same way when they met him. They were sitting there going, "Well, if we're not going to talk, I guess I'll go to bed." I said, We'll talk.
But yeah.
But and everybody that ever saw him the first time, Johnny Cash said, most beautiful man he ever met. He said, you just looked at him, the guy was perfect.
He was pretty. He really was.
And this just extremely talented. In fact, they said he had everything going for him as if he didn't write. He could sing. He certainly could dance, had charisma. Yeah. But he didn't write. But I said, so how much more famous could he have been if he could have written, But,
no doubt. It's
certainly
true.
an amazing human being. And I think it's great that he lives here. And I tell people all the time, they really should go to Graceland, go to your house, and just look at it because it's a part of Memphis history.
It is. And there's usually cars there whenever you go by, because I know a couple of times I was trying to get pictures one day, and I had to wait a while till people pulled off because it was one of the weeks, that's everybody goes. But there's usually somebody stopping by all the time.
Well, I know that we'd be out there at 4 o'clock in the morning on, morning show duty. Yeah. And there are people pull up, they get out of the car, they stand in front of Grace and take the picture, get back in the car.
Yeah.
I said, how far out of the way did you drive? 500 miles.
That's interesting. I met 3 different people from different states, different places. We had a whole group from Ireland that stopped. We're on the bus. And that's the ones I told you they let them tour the house. And I was like, "Can I come with you?" And I couldn't speak their language, so I couldn't lie and pretend I was with them.
I don't understand you. And
I can't get an Irish brogue, sorry. That's not me.
Well, it's not hard to find one.
There you go.
You just got to get it to the right pitch.
Sing George, yeah, absolutely. That's about all I can say. But the girl that's there, she said, "I know you used to live here, so I know you're not from Ireland, so you can't come in." So I didn't get to.
Interestingly, because I've interviewed people over the years, and they do come from everywhere. And they could come in here to Lansky's from everywhere in the world. The other day, there was a woman standing right over here, and I said, "Where are you from?" And she looks around, and she goes, and she points back over here toward downtown Memphis. She goes, "Madison Avenue." I'm like, "Welcome to Memphis."
Germantown. I mean, that's a long drive.
Well, it is incredible. It's an incredible story, and you're part of history. I think that's pretty cool.
It's kind of fun. Never thought it would be, but yeah. But we enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. The main reason we moved was the pool. The pool was not happy, did not like, because it was so big, and by the time we had it, because we'd been there, it'd been a while since Elvis was there, it was breaking down, so we decided to sell. And of course, they covered it all up, which is sad. But
well, I think it had problems.
It had problems when we were there, and that's 20-something years before. So
I think Elvis said, "Well, let's just move away and leave it."
They did.
He got a much better one on the second.
Yeah. The second pool's a lot nicer, no doubt.
Vicki Gandee, she's with Crylike Real Estate, and if they ever want to sell Graceland, I'm sure you'd step in and broker
I
the
will
deal.
be happy, and I know a good bit about it. I can tell my mama stories.
Well, you could also get a part-time job with our next guest
I
at
know.
Backbeat Tours. I'm going to fill in with them. That should be an interesting tour. The Earle Tour of Memphis.
Yeah.
History you've never heard before.
All your favorite bars by Earle.
I got some stories. All right. Vicki Gandee, always great seeing you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Earle.
You
Appreciate
bet.
it.
Up next, Backbeat Tours, and a very interesting young lady. Started out as a tour guide there. Now she runs the joint. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Dawn Grader, President and CEO of Southern Security Federal Credit Union at our new headquarters here in Collierville, Tennessee, off by Hellier Road. We are the proud presenting sponsor of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show and are looking forward to a great 2026 where some of the shows will be hosted from our new headquarters location here in Collierville.
Hello, Memphis Mid-South. And first, I'd like to thank you for visiting with Earle Farrell Memphis today. And we want to support him just like you do. I'm George Gully, one of the sales managers at Jim Carey Chevrolet. We've been in business here in Memphis for over 75 years. I've been associated with the company for almost 25. And I'll help you find the right car, truck, or SUV here at not only our Chevy store, but also Buick, GMC, Nissan, Subaru. We can help you find that right car. Keep watching Earle and come see me. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Mitch Wright.
And I'm his son, Mickey.
And we're the owners of Mitch Wright Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And proud sponsors of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show.
We're thankful to be part of the Memphis community. We've been in business for 42 years, taking care of people and loving the people of the Mid-South.
Hi, I'm Jamison Totten, the director of Live at the Garden and the Radiance Amphitheater.
Hi, I'm Olivia Wall. I'm the director of marketing communications at the Memphis Botanic Garden. Coming up, we have John Legend. And now the rescheduled date for Alabama, September 3rd.
Next, we have Cool and the Gang and Patti LaBelle on September 18th. Our last show will be a great show. So come on out, bring your cooler, your friends, your drinks and your food, and have a great time at Live at the Garden under the stars.
Hi, I'm Brett Batterson, President and CEO of the Orpheum Theater Group in downtown Memphis. We are so pleased with our partnership with the Earle Farrell Show and very happy that he is broadcasting live from Lansky's at the historic Peabody Hotel. We're all here to make Memphis better.
Whoa! Walker Auctions here, speeding in to tell you about a massive online auction you don't want to miss. We've got a huge specialty contractor liquidation right here in Memphis, and everything has got to go. Check it out. It's packed with contractor equipment, racking, shop tools, even a Ford F-250, and a Genie Reach forklift. Whether you're a contractor, business owner, or just looking for a great deal, there's something here for everyone. Register today at walkerauctions.com or call Eric Walker at 901-491-0793. When it's time to sell, Walker Auctions doesn't fiddle around.
Hospitals ask him for advice. Janitors ask him for autographs. He once cleaned a mirror so well it became a window. He once cleaned a subway pole, and crime dropped 40%. He has never once read the instructions on a bottle of shampoo. The shampoo already knows what to do. Even bleach thinks he overdoes it a little. Soap companies use him as the control group. Even his shadow practices good hygiene. He once cleaned a public restroom. Now it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. His laundry detergent contains 0% chemicals, just a photo of him on the bottle. He once coughed in a hospital, and everyone got healthier. The CDC occasionally calls him for backup. The 5-second rule doesn't apply around him. He organized a junk drawer so well it's now a museum. He is the cleanest man in the world.
I don't always drink, but when I do, even the ice cubes feel disinfected.
And welcome back to Lansky's and our next guest, Megan May. who is vice president of Backbeat Tours, which I think is an incredible name and incredible concept they came up with. It was a bus tour of all the historic places in Memphis, mostly connected to the music industry. And then he put somebody with talent that can sing and play an instrument on the bus that sings songs. So it's like a musical mystery tour.
Yeah. Now, Earl, we have to start off by saying that before the break, you promised us the Earle Farrell tour of Memphis. So we need to talk about that.
Well,
I need to talk about that first.
Well, it'd be highly popular.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and we'd have to do it after 10 o'clock because we'd have to warm up someplace first.
Yeah, pregame.
Tailgate.
Yeah.
Tailgate before the tour.
Exactly. That's what a lot of people do. So Backbeat, we started 20 years ago. We just celebrated 20 years in April, and it's been an adventure.
And you started out as one of the tour guides.
I did. So I started with Bill. Bill Patton is the owner of the company, and he's the one that came up with the whole idea of telling.
Is he from here?
No, he's actually not.
Isn't that interesting? So many people that come to Memphis and see opportunities and start things that the people that live right here in the forest, and they didn't say, well, that's a good idea. What do we think of that?
So I've been working for Bill since 2012 now, so for 14 years. And one of my very favorite stories that he tells people is how he got the idea for Backbeat. So Bill and his wife Deborah were both lawyers, and they lived in Washington, D.C., and they came here for vacation because Bill's a big history buff. He's a big music buff, and so where better to come than Memphis for music history?
Absolutely.
So they come here, they take a tour, and to this day, I don't know what company they took the tour with because he won't tell me.
There was the one I went on was a Graceland Tours, and this is 1978.
Yeah, I have no idea what tour he took.
They're not here anymore, and I don't know how many tour. I know there's a guy that drives around in a Cadillac, but that's just one Cadillac.
Yeah, that's just one guy in one car.
And then you guys have pretty much ruled the roost for 20 years.
Yeah, we've got a pretty big class of buses now. So, but Bill, I mean, he and his wife took this tour in Memphis, and he got off it and said, "I can do better than that." And so they went home, and he came up with the plan for Backbeat Tours, and like a year later, they moved to Memphis from DC. Both quit their law office jobs. They moved here to Memphis and started Backbeat Tours, and then now 20 years later, here we are.
My wife can identify with that because I'm always coming up and saying, "Hey, what about owning a restaurant?"
He hasn't gotten into that yet. I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop when he tells me, I'm going to start a restaurant, Megan.
Tell him to come see me first. I'll help drop the shoe for you.
Thank you.
We have some pictures. This is in front of the bus. Is that you?
That is me. That is me.
That was when you were first starting out?
No, actually, that was one of the very first times. That was one of the very first tours that we did post-pandemic. We were back on the road.
Which I guess pretty much destroyed you guys for 2 or 3 years.
Well, I will say we were completely closed. Everybody furloughed, including myself and Bill. We were furloughed, all of us. We were closed for 9 weeks.
Wow.
It was rough. It was really, really hard to deal with. I had a slight existential crisis of just not knowing what day to day, week to week was going to bring, because I love this job so much and I love what I do. I love Memphis, and just watching everything, just shut down, close one by one. It was so sad to see. And then when we finally got to the point where we were able to do tours again, we had lost our entire workforce. Everybody had gone on to find other jobs or go get regular jobs or do something else.
But they ain't staying around and not earning a living. You got to keep going.
Yeah, you have to. You have to, and we wish them well. I mean, it was good for them. But when we reopened, we went from a team of about 25 to a team of about 5.
Yep.
For a while, and then we've slowly built it back up in the years since. So, but that tour, that picture that you just showed was one of the very first tours that we were back out on the road. And like I said, we went from about 25 employees to about 5 employees, which meant that I was myself doing tours a whole lot.
The thing is, once you do that, do tours and you're good at it, you like telling the story, then other people come along and you're trying to teach them to do it. But there's a real talent to telling a story.
I think so. Yeah. It's about, when you're trying to tell a story, you have to be very concise. You have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the ending is what gets a lot of people. The ending, when I'm always training new tour guides on stories, and they're like, I don't know how to end this. And I'm like, well, you have to find a way to make it flow into the next story. So the flow of things.
It's called a segue.
Yeah, segue. Yes. There you go. A segue, if you will.
If you're from West Texas, it's a segue.
My daughter, when she first saw the word segue, she went, "What's a segue?"
Yeah.
I'm like, well.
Same thing as lasagna. We're having lasagna for dinner tonight.
But yeah, I mean, it's really and truly, I think storytelling is more about finding a connection with the person that you're telling the story to.
And the thing is, you have to keep in mind, you may have told the story 1,000 times. The person that's hearing it for the first time.
For the very first time.
That was the thing about Sam Phillips when I met him when I first moved here. He and Knox had his studio, Phillips Studio, across from what his son now. And he told every story about his life like it was the first time he had ever told it. He said, "I come from Alabama."
Like he had just done it last week.
Yes.
Yeah.
And had just as much enthusiasm and drama and excitement in telling that story. And I would look over at Knox. He goes, "I've heard this thing 1,000 times," and he says it better every time he says it. But that's the art of telling a story.
It is, and
creating
isn't that so? That's just so Sam Phillips. Just that energy and that, I guess, for lack of a better term, that kind of zest for life and for Memphis. And that's so Sam. He was so committed to Memphis and to making Memphis music and making sure that got out into the world.
Well, and that he also had the forethought to know that he couldn't do what Elvis needed. I mean, he was a little small studio. He kept finding great people, and he was great at finding them. But then he knew his limitations. It was what Clint Eastwood said in one of his movies, "Man's got to know his limitations."
Yeah.
And that is true. If you know what your cutoff is, and then you move somebody into the next phase of their life, and that was Sam. And he didn't make any bones about it. Very lucky that he came from Alabama and set up shop here and did all that he did. But that's part of the story. I mean, I'm sure you go to some kind of conventions or Tour Guides of America or something, and you're around other. There are people that have in other cities that don't have near the stories that you guys have to tell.
No, I mean, Memphis, outside of the Northeast, like Boston, Washington D.C., Memphis is one of the cities that has the most the number of historical markers. And I mean, of course, if you've ever met Jimmy Ogle, he'll tell you all about all of them. But we are one of the top cities for historical markers because it's just like every time you turn a corner, something else happened. I mean, there's a historical marker outside right here at the Peabody Hotel, and then there's another one on 3rd Street, and there's another one on 2nd Street, and there's one on Main Street in front of Royal Furniture. There's actually two in front of Royal Furniture, one for the Lee sisters and one for Royal Furniture, because that is where Elvis
got all his furniture.
That's where he was driving past and got stopped at a light, and the furniture for the Jungle Room was in the window at Royal Furniture.
Like a vision.
Right he had a vision. I will give him that. He had a vision. Was it a good one? We don't know. But
well, it didn't really matter. Elvis liked it.
Elvis liked it, and that's all that mattered.
I know people that knew him in high school, and they said that even in high school, they thought he was strange because he wore his hair slicked back and ducktail, which was not. Most of the guys back then were wearing flat tops, and so that was different. He sewed a stripe down the outside leg of his trousers on both sides. Where did that come from? Who knows? But he was very distinct in his taste for clothes and his style. There was definitely a style.
Absolutely.
To him. And that's why it was such an incredible, fortuitous meeting of the Lanskys and Elvis, because they had the clothes. He needed the clothes.
Yeah.
And they did that for so many people. Isaac Hayes, Sam the Sham, that they had gigs to go play. They didn't have a wardrobe to go be in. They said Isaac Hayes, first time he walked in the store, the sole of his shoe was roped on.
Yeah.
They had a rope around it. And so he said, I got a gig, but got nothing to wear. And he said, we got a deal for you. And
then, of course, Elvis sent Johnny Cash over here before his first show. And
where'd
said,
you get your outfit?
Yeah, where'd you get your outfit? He said, man, you got to go see Mr. Lansky over there. And Johnny Cash came in and he slapped down a can of Prince Albert tobacco. And he said, I need a suit that looks just like this, something I can wear to church and funerals just in case this music thing don't work out. So, and that's... When I tell people about Memphis music, and when you're talking about Memphis music as a whole, and you're not talking about one in particular genre or one particular musician that came from Memphis, you have to realize that Johnny Cash, it wasn't just that he had a hard time believing in himself. He was getting the door closed in his face over and over and over again. Sam Phillips, he hung out in the parking lot at Sun Records. He hung out in the parking lot until Sam Phillips was like, what do you want, dude? And he was like, I just want you to record me. And he's like, okay, fine.
Let's get it over with.
Come in here so you can go away.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's Johnny Cash. And, B.B. King, when he first came to Memphis, he went to what is now Handy Park. And they kind of called it Mojo Park. That's where all the musicians would come and they would play, and the club owners would come down and listen to them and figure out who they wanted to come play at their club that night. B.B. King comes, he opens his guitar case, and he said, man, I slammed it shut and I decided to go home because those cats were playing circles around me. It's B.B. King.
B.B. King.
It's B.B. King.
Yeah.
That's the level of talent that Memphis produces. Somebody that could make B.B. King think twice and go home to Itta Bena, Mississippi and come back 3 years later when he's had some time to practice.
Well,
you know what I mean?
But it was the benchmark. I mean, that's where you came to hear musicians say, am I ready or am I not ready?
Yeah.
I've had people come from Texas and come here and say, how do I get to play? We'd love to play with some of the guys down on Beale Street. How can we do that? I said, go to the liquor store and buy a fifth of Jack Daniels. You'll be in the band for one night.
For one night.
And that's all you want. And he did that. My friend Gary Milholland did it here 2 nights. Then he went to Greenville and he went to Clarksdale. Then they just find a place that's playing music and say, can I sit in with you guys? And hand the bottle over. They go, you're in the band.
You're in the band for tonight. Yeah.
And it still happens. I mean, so I tell people, this is not Disney World. This is not a place they built to be like, the happiest place on earth.
No.
This is actually a place that existed, still exists. And in fact, Hernando's Hideaway, they say it's a place where the history is still living. And that's true.
I like that.
I mean, you can still go there. And like we were there Friday night with our good friend over here that's celebrating his wedding anniversary. And it's still exactly the way it was when Jerry Lee played there, when Elvis played there. Although J.W. Whitby told me the other night, he goes, it was a real dump before the new owners took over because they've come in and really cleaned it up and made it like they always wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But it takes people with vision and some money to make things happen and keep it going. And I helped get the street paved the other day. Remember, the street's been under construction for 2.5 years, Elvis Presley Boulevard. And I called Alicia Dean and said, what can I do for you? Because she was coming on the show. And she said, get this street paved.
Yeah.
And she said, they just had an article in the Daily Memphian about it. And this is about a month ago. And I said, well, she said, we get on a big campaign and say, hey, you've got to do something. I said, no, that's not how you get things done. I'll call my friend Jack Sammons, because he knows everybody. He's on the board at the airport. And he said, I think we can get something done. The governor will be here tomorrow. And in 3 days, the street was paved.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. Like it was.
You needed a 4-wheel drive vehicle to get down the street.
It was not great. It was not great. I felt really bad for my friends going to work over there at Graceland. I was like, how are y'all getting there?
Well, the governor should be thanked, and I have thanked him many times over for getting it done. Just because he's the governor, it doesn't mean you know everything that's going on. And when he found out that it had been 2.5 years of construction, he said, let's just get this thing done, and we'll worry about the final touches later. And that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, because and Graceland is such a touchstone for Memphis, and it's such an important part of Memphis history because of Elvis. You go anywhere in the world, anywhere, and you say, I'm from Memphis. Does not matter where, doesn't matter when, doesn't matter who you're talking to, how old they are, what color they are. They look at you and they go, Elvis.
Elvis, yeah.
So it's synonymous. Memphis is synonymous with Elvis. Elvis is synonymous with Memphis. And when you have a place, when you have his home preserved on the street that's named after him, and people come into town and they come for Graceland. They come to see the home of Elvis Presley, and they can't get there.
Well, you get there, but you better take a Sherpa guide with you because it's a hike. And it really is. There's just something about coming here and knowing that this all really happened. And even though it's been almost 50 years, which is hard for me to believe because I moved here just months after he passed, and that I've been here 50 years and met everybody that knew him, and I never saw him live and in person. But I've interviewed everybody that ever knew him, and the amazing thing to me is not one person I've ever interviewed has ever said anything bad or negative about Elvis.
I've never met anybody that's had anything. I mean, again, we live in Memphis. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting 4 people that saw him or knew him or were his plumber or, changed the tires on his car. Like, everybody has an Elvis story. Everybody.
Yeah, well, but those numbers are fewer and fewer. That's why it's great to have.
But they pass them on.
They do, and that's what a good thing about what y'all are doing is you're keeping those memories alive for other people, and that is how you keep history alive. In fact, I've often told people that I've known that have been big parts of Memphis history, I said, write your book now, because somebody's going to write your story, and it ain't going to be the way you wanted to tell it. And so if you've got a story and you want to make sure you keep it in as Bernard would say, they don't lie about you or lie about what really happened, then you need to write the book.
Yeah.
Yes. And what y'all are doing is keeping the story alive by telling stories. Do you give your drivers and your guides like a form book or for each of the, because you got Memphis crime scenes, you got walking tours, so you got all kinds of different tours. Do you have all these categorized and with different key points?
Yeah, so when we get new tour guides, we kind of assess what their strengths are going to be. Are they really into the paranormal and kind of the darker history of Memphis? Then they go down the dark side. They go to the ghost tours and the true crime tours, which are so fun. And if they are a little bit more history focused and maybe a little bit more organized in their thoughts, can remember dates really well, so we're going to throw them on the history tour or the Beale Street tour. If they're really into the culture of Memphis, we're going to put them on the discovery tour, which is kind of a little like hop around town. You get to do a barbecue tasting. It's museum hopping. You go on the riverboat. It's like a whole thing. And then, of course, if they can sing and play guitar and do both of those things at the same time, sitting backwards on a bus, then you go to the Mojo Tour. There are very specific requirements, criteria for that tour specifically.
Well, and I guess that people have different talents and are able to do different things, sing or play an instrument. In fact, I remember when I first was a little kid and I realized I didn't have any stories. We were down at my dad's ranch talking to the ranch foreman, all these guys sitting around, they're all telling one story after another, and I'm sitting there going, I got nothing. I'm in the first grade. I got nothing. And been anywhere, hadn't seen anything, hadn't done anything.
You hadn't lived enough life at that point.
And that was exactly it. And I used to think, I've got to start creating some stories. I got to get out and do something. And then I became, went away to college, became a reporter, and it was probably the best education and history lesson in the world because I've met everybody and done everything I've ever wanted to do. And all you got to do is go up to somebody and say, I'd like to fly in that. Can you take me up? They go, yeah, come on.
And it's incredibly vindicating for someone like me who spent most of my formative years getting in trouble for talking excessively in class. And I wanted to wear a sign on my shirt every day, the first day of school, be like, it doesn't matter where you sit me, I'm gonna talk. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna talk. It doesn't matter where you sit me, whoever you sit me next to next week when I get moved away is gonna be my new best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be friends with everybody. And now, it's like I said, it's very vindicating for me. Now I'm like, I get to talk for a living to strangers.
I actually went
great.
back to my hometown, and the guy that was the vice principal that gave me all the licks for talking in class, he became the superintendent of schools. I go back and I go to interview him in his office. He goes, why am I not surprised that she turned into a news reporter? You've been yakking ever since I've known you.
Yep.
I said, but now you can't give me licks.
Now I get paid for it.
I was just auditioning is all it was.
Ah.
So you you've been doing this for 20 years. The company's been around 20 years.
Company's been around 20 years. I've been with them for 14. I started in 2012.
And do y'all, because I know everybody I talk to seems to have a problem finding young talent to go to work for them. And one of the things is, if you see anything like a yell at them or anything, they quit. So are you finding you can find people? Because this is as much about entertainment as it is work. It's really probably more entertainment.
It really is. It's definitely in the entertainment vein. It's definitely in the creative vein. So our job is technically a part-time job. It's a very part-time job. You know, we do have a tourist season here in Memphis. And so almost everybody that works for us has other jobs. We've had teachers. We've had artists and actors that have worked for us. And so it really it depends on what their area of strength really is. But it's a very creative job. We give you, everybody starts from the same point. You know, when we're training people, you know, we call them notes. It's never a script, ever a script, because we want,
in their own words.
We want it to be in their own words. We want their take on it. And I will say almost all of our current tour guides and drivers are Memphis natives, almost all of them. And so we all have this real passion, this real love, this real connection with Memphis. And so how each of us portrays that to our guests it's always a little different, and it can look different from a Monday to a Tuesday.
Well, and I promise you, it ain't going to be the same story every time told the same way, because it's people, I say it's self-editing. They've told this story so many times, they want to keep it interesting, so they just add a little here, a little there. But I asked Jimmy Ogle one time, speaking of Jimmy Ogle earlier, his would be the tour that never ends, because he does not have an ending to any of his stories. You just have to go, Jimmy, I got to go.
Right, yeah.
The tour's over. And he goes, okay, we'll pick it up there next time. Because virtually never runs out of information.
He never runs out of information. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. When he got ready to move, I was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to learn everything about, what is it, Chattanooga?
In Knoxville.
Knoxville. I asked him, I was like, are you just going to go learn everything about Knoxville and do tours in Knoxville?
He's kind of one of those people, you ever see him, they count telephone poles while they're driving down the road? He does that with stories. And if he hears what he goes, and I asked him one time, I said, do you ever just make stuff up? Because I would just do that. I go, 1842 is when the Indians landed here. He goes, I would never do that.
Never.
I go, well, you're not me. The Indians were very interesting people. Well, I think it's fascinating what you do, and I'm going to have to go on one of your tours just to shoot some, and we'll bring it back and put it on and show people exactly what you do. But it's a great thing, and you're promoting Memphis, and I think it's very important. That's why we do this show, is to say there's a lot of great things about this town.
Absolutely.
And a lot of great people in it, and we're going to try to introduce you and expose you to as many as we can.
I love that. And we love getting, obviously a huge bulk of our guests that come on our tours are from other states, other countries, and especially weeks like this week. We started Elvis Week. It's Elvis Week. Yep. So we're in the thick of it now, and so we're gonna continually throughout the week, we're gonna see more and more international visitors. But I mean, we get locals on the tour all the time, and they get off the bus and they're like, I live 2 blocks from here. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
I used to tell young reporters when they'd move here like I did, say, go get on a tour and take it and just get a kind of the drift of the city and what's north and what's west and what's east. It'll really help you, and you'll learn how to say McLean instead of McLean.
Yes.
And because look at all these people that move here, and they don't know how to pronounce the names of the streets. And we're going,
I mean, look, it's not McLean, it's McLean.
Yeah, but nobody can tell you that unless they live here, and nobody's going to tell you when you go work with the station, because that's up to you to learn. Because people are going to call you, you're a dummy. You got to learn to pronounce McLean.
You have to.
Did want to mention this. I meant to bring it up during Vicky's segment. This is the cologne for men, Linnell, and this is what Elvis actually wore. And I like it because it's not real heavy. It's very, very thin, but a very nice fragrance. And they said they sell this to people all the time. Because I always kind of pictured him as an Irish Spring kind of guy. You know?
What? Why? I just have to ask, like, why?
Because it was a clean smell.
Twofold question. Why Irish Spring? 2, why are you wondering about the kind of soap that Elvis used?
I didn't wonder about the soap. I just the smell.
You just wonder what he smelled like?
I was going to ask Vicki, did the smell of Elvis still linger in the air at his house on Audubon? You know, because you lived there for 9 months.
Right.
And
kind of want to call Glade and be like, hey, come get this ode to Elvis.
I just didn't think it was Old Spice. I was thinking, no. So
never. Never, no.
The sailor song going on in the background.
Yeah. I don't think he would have been an Axe guy either, for sure.
No.
That was too rough. He was a very soft person.
Yes, I'm assuming that because I never met the guy, but he was a kung fu guy.
Yeah.
In fact, I took one lesson from Guy, who was his Taekwondo instructor, but my brother-in-law got his black belt through him. And I went to one session, and so they were doing all these stretching exercises and everything. They said, okay, take a break. And I said, that's enough for me. He goes, that was the warm-up. And unfortunately, I never went back. But Guy, that's the one that taught Elvis all those karate moves that he'd do at his shows.
So you're not a karate master?
No, I'm a gun carrier. It's quicker and more direct. And you don't hurt your knuckles, so.
Not nearly as badly, no.
No, and if you're nice to people, you virtually never have a problem.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you got the whole TV thing. You gotta keep the,
people sort of have a radio
clear.
face, is what they actually say. And I don't take that as an insult. I just
so that's why we started the podcast. Okay.
That gotcha. And we put the camera on you most of the time. You may have noticed that it stays on you, not on me. I invite attractive people on as much as I can, just to keep things evenly keeled.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming on. Enjoyed doing this with you, and we'll do it again. Maybe bring one of your star tour guides with you, and we can talk to them. Or I'll go shoot them doing their tour.
Yeah.
And then we can come back and put them on there.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. I'll have to do it after a tour because they'll be kind of talked out by then.
No,
we get it all out at once, and then we don't talk for the rest of the day.
What I do is I get through with the show, I go home, and my wife will say, so how was today? I said, did you listen to the show? And she'd go, well, yeah, no. I'd say, then you missed it because I'm not telling it again.
Exactly.
I tell this story once a day.
Once a
That's
day.
it.
There you go.
Yep. All right, Backbeat Tours. Check it out.
That's us. Come see us.
All right. That's our show for today. Thank you for tuning in and watching and supporting the show. We're getting now, I looked the other day, we had 90-something thousand views last week. And so you are watching, you do like it, and that means you love Memphis, and that's what we do. So we'll see you next time.